is going to be a quick one today. I was out walking the dog and on the way to the gym, and I was thinking about something I've thought about a lot, which is uh, anti black racism in America and sexism, which exists everywhere, but certainly how it shows up here in America. So I was thinking, like, why are we fighting about? Why do we still have to talk about this? Why are we still dealing with this? And it stems back to an issue that um, has to do with ownership. So America was founded by people who were looking to own things, and they wanted their own things. They left the comfort of their whatever, not Europe, and where they couldn't own things. I guess they were thought they were smart enough to, or they owned some things, but they wanted to own more. Anyway, so they came to America and said, okay, we're going to make this place, colony at first, and then its own country, but it's going to be founded on the notion of property ownership. So the reason that women and black people in America still struggle, or America still struggles with women and black people, is because both of them were considered property at the founding of this nation. And so if you are considered a second class citizen or a non full person, 3/5 of a person in our case, for black people, and I don't know what the calculation was for women, but I'm assuming they didn't say it out loud, but I'm assuming it was the same. So if you're not a person fully viewed by the society as a person fully, and you are definitely considered property by individuals and by the law, then I hate to say this because I don't think it's really true, then there's going to be I'll say it this way, it's going to be very difficult for you to ever achieve full parity in terms of rights. And we see that today with women's issues around body autonomy. We see that it wasn't stuff under my it wasn't until recently, the last 50 years, that women had rights to own their own property, have credit, buy homes, blah blah blah, that stuff. Vote came, relatively within the last 100 years. Same for black people. Definitely were property coming here. And, Voting Rights Act in the 60s, property ownership, and then all the discriminatory practices that have been levied against black people to keep them in a certain place, even as we gained certain rights, that was still limited and disadvantaged as much as possible. I'd say the same thing happens for women, but differently. And so I say that a lot, that, discrimination, white supremacy, racism, sexism actually affects all of us, even the people who are the quote unquote perpetrators of it. It just affects us differently. So it just shows up in different ways because of the different ways that those different types of people have been categorized. But I am hopeful and believe in our individual power and collective power. So I know that the way that things are not the way that they have to be, because they've evolved over time, and because they started in the first place based on what some person and some individuals gathered together to do. They made decisions and choices, and those were people with names and families and histories and mamas and daddies and all the other stuff, just like you, just like me. And there is no inherent thing in the people that have dominated other than their absolute willingness to use deadly violence to get their way, no matter what. Like, that's always been the bottom line of the power accumulation of those who have power in America, probably globally, but in America for sure. Well, if I don't get my way, I'm just going to keep killing until I do, and threaten violence constantly to help keep those I haven't killed in place. And that's the bottom line. It's not really very complicated, and that's root cause thinking, which is what I promote in my trainings and my program. Root cause thinking, like why is this way? We can all flail our arms around reproductive rights. We can flail our arms around school to prison pipelines. We can flail our arms around all that stuff. But the real issue is women and blacks in America. I don't have time to talk about other groups, but it's the same. It's not different. It's the same fundamental thing, and then apply your own version of why it's played out the way it has. It's logical every time. But for women and black people, the foundation is that I'm both, that we were property and not fully human. And blacks, I think the same for women, but they couldn't say it out loud because women were in their households. Would cause too much challenge. Maybe not. I don't know. If you have a source that says that women were not seen as fully human too, let me know. That's interesting to think about. So that's that. I don't really have much more to say. Oh, I was going to say something else. I was trying to be hopeful, which I do hold. So I think until blacks and women look out of their own eyes at the world and say, this, or at the society, and say, this doesn't work for me. I know why it doesn't work for me. I want it to work differently. I want it to look like this for me, from my perspective, for my well-being, for my interests, for my dreams. And I'm willing to face systems that oppose me with my life. I hate to say that part because, who wants to risk their own lives? I don't. I want to keep living. But at the same time, those systems are killing women and killing black people regardless. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's embedded in them. And so it's not really a big leap to say, okay, it's my life. My life's on the line here, because it is. And then living without standing up and saying, F this, your fed upness is to the highest level. But without doing that, you're just half living anyway. So what's the point? What is that's why you came? That's why you came from whatever cloud you were on before you got into this body and came into this world through your mom. That's why you're here? I don't think so. And I'd say on a more positive note that you could say, so there was a saying that said the founding fathers didn't believe in the future, they believed it in, because there was no model for America before America, right? So those people who are not smarter or better than you got together and thought and imagined the world that they wanted, and then they went ahead and created it. Now, they used deadly force and unscrupulous means to get it. Hopefully we won't have to do that. But it just started as an idea. Everything starts in imagination. It all starts in your mind and your belief that you deserve the thing that you want. And then the creation comes from that. And so I think you and I, each of us and us collectively, can also imagine a new future and live toward it. But it does take a commitment of your life to that, to say, this is what I want, and what I have is not acceptable. And I think that's hard because we're not trained to do that. Our minds are not trained to think of ourselves. I think, I don't think any woman or black person would admit that they feel less than a person or less than a human or less worth fewer rights. They're not going to say that. But we're trained in the same system that they are, so we all get the same messages, but they land in different ways once again. So understanding that differentiation, I think, is critical. But I do believe in the ability to create anew. I am happy to imagine with you and with one another and with the dominant people too, because once again, while it's challenging, I think, to think about healing with the oppressor. I think it's very difficult to really make any real change that doesn't just replicate in some other weird way the same thing that we have now if we don't do this together. But that is another topic for another day, and probably going to take a lot of smart brains and open hearts to get us there. So I have a smart brain and an open heart, and I know you do too. So that's my word for the day, which is it all comes down to ownership of property, including the ownership of people in certain categories by us people in other categories. So if you're wondering why we're still fighting about this stuff and why it's not resolved, that's the bottom line of it. And regardless, we are here now and today and can create something new. So I'll say that, and I'm going to go off to the gym and lift some heavy weights because that's what I like to do. I hope your day is wonderful. You have a great day. I'm looking forward to your comments here. Like and subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, watch this video, fight with your people, hug them, cry. I don't know, do something. Anyway, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.